Guys, I am so hungry. I might pass out before I can finish this. There we go. No one is ever in these comments, but if anyone has something to say about the audio, please let me know. Like, babes, let me know. I've got backup headphones. Maybe I should go grab those anyway. Oh, I gotta post about this. Oh, hello, Divorce Guru. Is the audio okay? Do I want to start a little late, or I want to give it like 3 minutes? Oh, so the audio's okay. I can put in my headphones, these right here, if it is bad. This is gonna be a bit of an awkward stream because I normally take hand notes, and now they're on my computer. So I'm probably going to be looking at this computer the whole time. If that's awkward, I don't know what to say. I get a different monitor. Actually, I don't have Google Docs on my handy dandy second screen. But I should probably get that if I'll be taking Google Notes from now on. Hopefully I'll remember how to manage this switchboard. I don't think I've showed the stream how complicated the switchboard looks. It's very intimidating. I can't wear a backwards hat because my forehead's too big. I don't know how to get the screen to stay on. Oh, I gotta post. Okay, there we go. Everything's posted. Posted on Twitter earlier. It was nice to give like an hour heads up. Do I want to play another song before I put this on? Before I really just jump into it. Bro, there's like mice in the ceiling here. You guys hear this? Alright, looks like we'll be starting at like 10:04. I'm gonna let another song play. Maybe I shouldn't. That's a long time. God, I get so nervous when I come in here. As many times as I've done this at this point, it's just scary. Oh my god, on the radio. Who allowed this to happen? I shouldn't be here. Uh-oh. Yeah, no, I'm not waiting another 4 minutes, but here we go. Like 20 seconds. And we're live on KRUI for the first time of 2023. Unfortunately, I was supposed to be in here several weeks ago, but first time in 2023, Save the Fives back on air. I'm your host, Sweet Jorna, and today have something a little different. I'm switching up the show just slightly. If anyone was following from last semester, um, I typically cover news, and I don't think I do the greatest job of it. So I'm going to be giving a little consistency, just switching it up slightly. I'll be talking about a show today, a very popular show. It's kind of taken the South by storm. Show I've been watching for a couple of years, and I think maybe it's got some viewership in Iowa. I imagine it's popular in most rural communities of America. But we'll be talking about Yellowstone today. I have been watching this show since maybe the second season came out. So I'm not an OG fan of it, but I've been watching for what, maybe 3 years now. We're on like the fifth season. I've got a lot of opinions about this show. This show infuriates me to no end, but I think that's because I'm not the target audience. So I'm coming on here. I come in here every Saturday, 10 a.m.s. I yell about the government. Today I'll be yelling about this show. I've got some opinions, and maybe some people will work with me here. Last week I wasn't here in the studios on air, but I was live on Twitch, and I did do a coverage of a different show. Any of you watched the L Word Generation Q? I gave my season finale consensus, and I think it went pretty well. Unfortunately, I was not in the studio. I was snowed in because I am a southerner and do not know how to traverse snow to get to the studio. So I was live on Twitch. Today I'm live on both. Twitch will probably be getting a more in-person experience given that my notes are on my computer and I'll be looking right at the camera the whole time. So if you want to see visuals to go along with this, join me on Twitch. That's Lenny the Fool, Leny _ the Fool on Twitch. But let's get into it. So, Yellowstone. I've been watching the show for several years now, and it evokes frustration. Frustration with the ignorance of not necessarily the producers, but the viewers of the show. My theory is that viewers of this show is done too well. The people that have viewed the show, it's like they've taken the show and internalized it. Now, this is all this is not like Pew Research data. This is just my day-to-day life with people interacting with those that watch the show. Being from the South, I was just back home over our winter break we had here at the university. And of course, people going on about the show. I think at the time, the part 1 of the 5th season had just ended, so it was very fresh on people's mind. But there's a very large viewership in the physical region of the country where I live, when I'm not at school. So this is all just my personal experience. I'm give and take, I'm sure if there was research done on the show and the viewership, people would disagree. But this is my personal theory, not reflective of KRUI, I must say. People have taken the show and internalized it because it's too good. You give rural living, something people can be very passionate about. You give rural living, like the right budgets, the writers, the relatable characters, the talented directors and producers, a beautiful set, some people that can do some editing magic on all the stuff recorded and make Montana look like the most beautiful place in the world, which I'll give it. I haven't been to Montana, but I believe it's a pretty beautiful place, very rural, untouched land for the most part. Controversial statement, but for the most part, untouched land. But you give it the movie magic of Hollywood and you throw it in a place like Montana, it looks cool. It makes being a conservative look so freaking cool. It's cool to be a cowboy, and it's cool to find beauty in nature. It's not cool to glamorize corruption. This is where things turn a little sideways, and I'm not attempting to sound like you're sassy, like blue-haired liberal. That's not what I'm going for here. Sorry, Iowa City. I know Iowa City's like the blue-haired liberals of Iowa. I digress. I'm not trying to be some leftist debate lord online that's trying to pick apart every little thing that's not meant for me. But I've got some notes. I'm not trying to find the fault in everything, and I'm not saying this show is bad by any means. I'll say I've been watching the show for several seasons. I have purchased every season with my own money. I don't watch it through a streaming platform. I've bought the individual seasons to watch this show. So I'm obviously some extent of a fan. It's a good show, but I think some things thrown in there with these main storylines promote some bad sentiments. I'm saying it's all done so well that people have forgotten to return to reality when the episode's over. The movie magic makes being corrupt look cool. And I'll give myself some credit here. I'll toot my own horn. I'm mature enough to know to admit out loud on this public radio platform, that it makes being corrupt look cool. You feel like a hero at the end of the day after watching this. These are your people. This is your family. I'm a Dutton in this show. These are my friends. They're infringing on my family's rights. But once the show turns off, I'm also level-headed enough to know this is Hollywood in Montana. But the show looks cool. There's an infinite amount of inexcusable things going on left and right, but it looks cool because it's got movie magic. I want to be conservative after watching the show. I can't lie. Let's see, the Duttons, for those that don't watch the show, I'll try not to give out any spoilers here. If I do, hopefully they're from older seasons, so maybe you've already seen them, maybe you don't care at all, I don't know. But I'll try and avoid spoilers. Those are coming in the after show. So the Duttons, for those that don't know, are the focal point of the show. They're a family that owns this ranch, the largest ranch in the state of Montana. This thing is like the size of a full state within the state of Montana. The property's been passed down for generation after generation after generation. The Duttons were one of the first settlers of the state, of the entire frontier area of the nation, and they have laid their claim to this ranch. The ranch is everything that this family has. Although it's a very large ranch, and these are very wealthy people with very high status in life, the show it just inconveniently skews real life issues to point towards not very realistic real life issues. One of the overarching points in the show is that there are threats to the Yellowstone Dutton Ranch. One enemy or another is plotting the downfall of the ranch. That's kind of the whole point of the show. People want to stop this ranching. People are poisoning the cattle. People are staging events to tarnish the family's reputation. Everything under the sun is going on to stop these people from having their ranch, having their full ranch, and enjoying the fruits of this rural Montana living. So people are plotting the downfall of this ranch. There are plans. Now, the biggest obstacle in this past maybe 2 seasons, maybe 3 seasons, it's been introduced this airport. There are plans to build an airport smack dab in the middle of this ranch. Now, the Duttons would have still, this is a very large piece of property. The Duttons would still have plenty of room for their ranching operations, but understandably, it's inconvenient and it feels like an annexation. You've had this land, belongs to your family, generations after generations, and you're trying to build a whole village right in the middle of it. It feels like something's being taken away from you. So, of course, like any rational minded rancher having their land infringed on, John Dutton runs for governor with plans to wipe out this entire airport plan. The show tries to, I'll give it to the show, they do a really good job at trying to make the airport seem like a good idea. They mentioned it would provide jobs for people, it would increase tax revenue for the state, it would make easier access to the fruits of rural living in Montana. You can expose this to the rest of the world, and maybe they will care about preserving nature just as much as those living there. But it would mean the development of untouched land, which is ironic. People come to see Montana, this beautiful, raw piece of land that's not been touched by extreme forms of colonization. I'll say, the whole country's stolen, but this is a part of nature to preserve. And if you want people to actually see that and grow to care about this untouched nature, you have to build airports so that they can come travel and see it, which is in turn undeveloping, or in turn developing this untouched land. But it would mean the development. Taylor Sheridan, I believe he's the producer and director. I don't know if he's the writer as well. He's magically put together this narrative in which the chief of a native tribe is fighting tooth and nail to sabotage the life of a white man, and succeeds for a little while. The show is honestly so confusing and infuriating if you look at it from a reality-based perspective with historical context. So I have done myself the complete displeasure of trying to watch the show from that perspective, and I'm giving you lovely listeners that my consensus from that perspective so that you won't have to live that deep fury every time the show comes on. But the confusion comes from the duality of people being simultaneous protagonist and antagonist. Before we get into this, I'll play our 15-minute ad break. Our PSA. Wow, that's a first for the show. I wasn't cut off and I didn't cut off the PSA. Maybe we can keep this thing going. But getting into Chairman Rainwater in this show, he's what kind of framed as an occasional friend, occasional enemy. He's a chairman of a native reservation that's very near, maybe even touches some of the Duttons' ranch, some of the Dutton land. Sometimes he's cool with the Duttons, sometimes he's not. He's mostly a businessman. He claims to care for the well-being of his people, those living on the reservation, and in earlier seasons, his actions, he seems to never mind, I spoke too soon on that. Pardon me. Where was I here? Chairman Rainwater. He claims to care for the well-being of his people, but his actions say otherwise, and it's now coming back to Biden in this fifth season, part one of the fifth season. It's been a minute since I've watched the first seasons, but I recall him making some decisions that really seemed to be in favor of his constituents. He seemed like a good, rational minded elected official. Actually, I don't know if he's elected. I'm pretty sure he is an elected official representing these people. But like Mr. Dutton, he now wants and he's trying to preserve a way of life that he values. I liked him initially because of how diplomatically he handled his qualms with Mr. Dutton, the big guy of the ranch next to him. The problems when problems arose, he proposed the problems arose with his constituents when he proposed the building of a new casino. He claims to want to preserve a way of life closer to nature and tribal traditions, his community, and then he undercuts all of this by building more casinos. His tribe already owns and operates several casinos in the area, and at some point he turns his back on the residents of the reservation and their cries to not build another casino and proceeds to fully pursue the project against their wishes. He justifies this by saying that, if the white man won't give the people back this land that is rightfully theirs, he'll buy it back. And so he's building these casinos to buy back, in a way, his own land. It's a very cool line, very cool delivery. It was very dramatic. I'm pretty sure that line, that specific moment had music behind it, that Hollywood magic. But literally no one wanted that but him. His constituents are concerned with issues already being faced on the reservation: alcoholism, dilapidated housing, water supply, clean water supply, all of the practical issues of like day to day living. It's like this show is the exact opposite of how real life issues are handled by governments. Typically, it's the constituents that want to bring up more social issues and the government officials that talk about the practicality of infrastructure. He's like Chairman Rainwater, he's like Greg Abbott. He's doing the whole thing backwards. He wants to pass laws no one asked for instead of strengthening, say, the power grid of the state of Texas or expanding the scope of that infamous Texas public education. Or people definitely need more things, and he's focused on social needs, things that kind of cater to his own ego. And at this point in the show, Chairman Rainwater is a complete tycoon, business tycoon, ignoring his crying children. This show is now foreshadowing some major issues with the folks living on Rainwater's reservation, and there's growing distaste for him. The show's very much hinting at like there might be a rebellion on this reservation against the chairman. And right now he's in full colonizer mode while trying to decolonize the land, I suppose. It's a little backwards. But that brings me on to the Duttons. The Duttons, these are mostly evil people. The show starts in modern times with the Duttons being a wealthy, powerful family running a ranch on an absurdly large plot of land. It's important to differentiate here the fact that they're running a normal-sized ranching operation on a massive, massive plot of land, and they're not running a massive ranching operation in general. We know they don't run a massive operation because realistically, all 5 seasons, we've seen the same like 30 cows, and there's maybe 15 wranglers working at this ranch at any given time. So this is not a massive corporation. But yes, they have a super massive black hole of a ranch and an even larger social status, but their ranch is still, when it comes down to it, family owned, family operated. This is important to explain the backlash that they're facing for being such a large ranch. In the fourth season, last season, this character Summer enters the scene, enters stage right. She is your typical commie mommy libtard. She's an environmental activist, and she's introduced because she was protesting something to do with the ethicality of the agricultural industry. Like I said, this was last season. I was not about to rewatch the entire show to commentate on the 5th season because it's a lot of watching. But she comes in last season and she's protesting. I don't know the exact specifics of what it was she was protesting, but it had to do with environmental activism. And the show had to make her an ethical activist instead of a climate activist on purpose to make her character laughable. Her serves about killing animals for subsistence are weak, and they really only serve to make the Duttons look better. I'll give that to Taylor Sheridan. If he can craft his own narrative, he might as well go all the way to get his point across. Summer, as a character, doesn't really need to be here, but she makes the Duttons look better, so she's sticking around. But anyway, the Duttons and their actions are motivated by their personal necessity to keep their ranch whole and not let anybody infringe on their property or their way of life. At any cost, they will pay it. This family has got a kill count of like half the state of Montana, 500,000 people with no prosecutions. It does not make me want, side note, it does not make me want to live in Montana if that many people can be murdered in cold blood by one family, including law enforcement agents, and not one prosecution. Even Summer was convicted and literally went to actual prison for her crime of protesting. Technically, she may have been convicted for assaulting a law enforcement agent, aka Casey Dutton, the youngest of the Dutton children, the most likable of the Dutton children, who I believe was the livestock commissioner at the time. The point is, she went to literal prison because she threw a rock at the cow police. And the Duttons are literal serial murderers. If this airport were built on their land, I cannot imagine, like, the mass excavation of bodies. There's got to be a mass grave on this property. The amount of people they have killed to get their way. But I digress. The Duttons in general are morally agreeable because they want to protect their property and are willing to do anything to preserve it. They're also rich and powerful enough to make it happen. The average proletariat on the street, your average rapper on the street in Montana, those Montana streets, sees people wanting to protect the property that they own and doing anything to get it. And they relate to that. The Duttons are like the cinematic example of everything the rural proletariat wants to express. The scary part is the other message that people feel inspired by, along with the protection of their private property. Seeing the Duttons commit these heinous crimes, in addition not facing any condemnation or legal repercussions for what seems like relatable purposes, only makes the mental loyalty to the Duttons more solid. Corruption is a message throughout the show that kind of, if you don't look at it if you don't step back and look at it from a realistic perspective, it could just fly right over your head. They've committed so many crimes that besides when the police are actively needed and working with the Duttons, the police are an enemy of the family. How many times in this show is the family worried, absolute sick about federal agents being on their land? They've got a lot to hide. The corruption mostly takes place at the local level, which makes me more concerned. I want to do personal investigation about rural corruption at local levels because of this show. If it's that easy to get it done, well, this is Hollywood magic. But if it's that easy, I'm concerned how often this is happening in real life. But the corruption mostly takes place at the local level in this show until John Dutton becomes the governor. Even when he becomes the governor, the corruption he commits is not the nasty, unrelatable corporate corruption that most politicians do, that any normal person wouldn't understand how to do, like tax fraud, Medicaid scams. It's this breed of proletariat corruption, like outright killing a police officer to avoid prosecution, or hiring hitmen, or breaking all the rules of individual respect, infringing on the boundaries of other people to show how serious infringements are taken on the Duttons family. This is the kind of stuff that could radicalize someone, honestly. If someone mostly aligned with the completely cherry-picked and hypocritical moral compass of this family, they might see this and want to take matters into their own hands too, because the show makes it look so cool. This show makes fighting for values look so doable. When I say the show is too good, I mean that it could genuinely inspire a person to address the matters that they find important in their life, their lifestyles, their what they're teaching their children, their entire way of life with strict fury. If someone comes through proposing we teach I don't know, CRT, critical race theory, in the schools because there's minority populations that need their issues addressed in the educational system. But if it infringes on the educational system that you firmly believe in, you would think I need to respond to this with smite, with fury, because this is someone infringing on my lifestyle. This is the kind of stuff that would make you want to raid the Capitol, honestly. I chose to talk about this show because I was watching a documentary that had to do with January 6th, and people are trying to get to the root. Was it an incitement? Did President Trump do this? I think it's shows like Yellowstone that have done that. I think this show plays a much bigger part in the January 6th insurrection than anyone would like to admit. And I'm not saying it's bad because of that, because it just looks cool. You can't get mad at a show for inspiring people. If you genuinely think that democracy, like the foundation of this country that you love so much, were at risk, it would seem like a personally obligatory thing to do to physically show up at the Capitol and fight for your country. This is how the Duttons do it. They show up every time, every opportunity they get to fight for their morals, they'll take it. The show has obviously touched a lot of people and amassed a lot of fans. Like, what other TV show can you find every Southern mom wearing an Etsy t-shirt of that they made on their Cricut machine, or drinking out of a Rip Wheeler and Beth Dutton coffee mug? Even the men are in on this, as not cool as it is to express that you like a TV show. Even the men in the South, I don't know how many men fangirl over this show. I've never seen as many Yellowstone Dutton Ranch stickers on people's trucks, on these massive Yee Yee trucks mowing down everyone on the road, and they've always got a Yellowstone sticker on the back window or the bumper, or they actually have the emblem on the side of their car because they're such big fans of the show. It's obviously reaching its audience and evoking something within them. And another side note, as much as I like this TV show, that sticker, that Y sticker on people's truck, the Yellowstone sticker, to me, I don't know, man. As a person of color, it's like equivalent to the Confederate flag. I'm not approaching anyone wearing Yellowstone paraphernalia, but it appeals to people that feel like the underdog in their society and want to feel empowered again. It's honestly like, what's an inspiring movie? It's like the Black Panther for QAnon conservatives living rurally. I'm not the target audience for this show. I'm well aware. Even though I am from a rural community, I am still young and black and a woman with more left leaning ideologies. I'm not the target audience, so I'm seeing this show and the fan base from the outside looking in. And I see that the political and social concerns of the viewers of the show are the same concerns that people that want socialism have. We're all living under the same like anti-proletariat, anti-working class system, ultra capitalism. Conservatives are just seeing this issue, are just seeing this giant systemic issue from the other side of the hill. And the show perfectly Hollywood dramatizes that side of the hill. It's understandable as to why you would want Mr. Dutton in office, or why you would be okay with a little bit of corruption if it were morally for the right reasons. Digging this hole deeper into conservatism and capitalistic systems and corruption is not really how we fix these issues. These are issues created by those oppressive systems in the first place. If you want to hear the rest of this rundown, I'll try and find somewhere to stream on Twitch. I was planning on streaming downstairs, but since everyone and their grandma's dog is out today, having a lovely time this lovely morning, the sun is out, we're not in sub freezing temperatures. Everyone's here at the IMU, so I may have to find somewhere else to go stream, but I was going to dive into more after the show. I was going to do some spoilers, some critiques. I was going to critique John Dutton's actual policy proposals from the show and why they would definitely not work in a real life scenario. But I'm wrapping this up for today. If you want the extra rundown, the juicy stuff that I didn't talk about, spoilers included, that'll be happening on Twitch after this. I'll try and find somewhere to stream. I'll get it done because I have more to say. But that's it for Save the Vibes today. I'm supposed to give the weather report right now. I don't really have that pulled up, but it's warmer today than it has been the past week. The past week has been anywhere from like -8 to actual 8 degrees, +8 degrees. We're finally getting a little bit of heat. We're supposed to be reaching above freezing temperatures today. And the sun is out. And we've got the UI with Dance Marathon going on today, kicking off today. It's looking like a lovely day. People are out and about, leaving this winterous depression cave. If you can, get outside. Wear a coat, wear a coat. It's so cold. But get outside, enjoy some sunlight, eat some good food. I don't know. Get out there. Have a good Saturday, everyone. And here's your regularly scheduled tunes. I'm your host, Sweet Joyner. You can find me on Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, everything, Lenny the Fool, Leny_the Fool. You all have a good Saturday. I I may have confused the KRUI board. What time? I don't know. I am so hungry right now. I did not eat dinner last night. All I had was crumble cookie. The cookies are so filling, I forgot to eat real food. So I need food, otherwise I might pass out on stream. I don't know where to stream from, but I wanted to do it at 11. Oh, the cafeteria. The library. I could go stream in the library. But I need food. What do you mean, Porque? I need food. I know I'm not gonna skip. I shouldn't skip. I'm really tempted to, but I shouldn't skip the stream because I've been gone. I have an orange in my backpack. I'm not getting sushi in the next 30 minutes, 25 minutes. I'm gonna eat this orange in my backpack and then go to the library. I guess I'll be back at 11. I'm ending the stream for now. I'll be back, and I wish I didn't have to end it, but I wish I didn't have to end it, but I'll be back. 25 minutes. Goodbye.